Hey everybody.
Hello.
I didn't realize until I put this on, but this outfit is pretty busy.
You're a bumblebee.
Got a lot
I am.
going on there.
I know. Stripes and circles and all this stuff. Like, this guy's ridiculous. Anyway, so again, we're trying to establish just like redistributing their weight a couple different ways, putting their weight on their hands. We're not going to get too deep into the weeds of like tipping them to the side yet. We're going to talk about that later in the semester. But I want to talk about kind of let's assume we get our best case scenario, which is get their hands over your head, right? Now, do me a favor, Ben. I want you to be on top of someone in the mountain. Invisible fun. Okay. So we established earlier that Ben is 185 pounds, right? Well, let's just assume, let's make it really simple. And let's assume that as long as he's sitting here, so like posture up, that's 185 pounds in a straight line going down. All that weight supporting like straight down through the middle, right? Here's the cool thing about the mount, right? Or the underneath the mount. Okay, do me a favor. I tipped you forward, I made your hands close. Well, now he just became, let's just round up and say 180, right? He now just became 90 pounds on two sides. So now I'm fighting 90 pounds and 90 pounds, right? The other thing is, by getting his hands open, remember how we talked about this idea that I want to start trying to bring my body back together, right? The magician, he was the magician, he put me in the box, he cut me in half, well now I got to put myself back together, right? So the cool part is now that I've opened him up, I've created space, and we'll talk about this in more length when I get under there, but now I've created this space, which means that I can start to kind of work to a side and start to bring myself back together, which means that I can start to isolate one leg, which means that instead of fighting 90 pounds, I'm fighting 45 pounds. Here's the thing about that. Let's take a look for a second what's going on here. He's got the shin, the thigh, and kind of his hip. Let's assume for the sake of argument that that 45 pounds is distributed evenly between each part, for the sake of argument, okay? Which means, if my math is correct, we're looking at 15 pounds apiece, right? Am I right? I am the master of math! Thank you. Well, here's an interesting thing. What if I were to do this? If we assume that the hip, the thigh, and the shin all weigh the same, how much does the shin weigh now? If it was 45, if Susie leaves the train station at 2 o'clock, right? But like, if his hip was 15, and his thigh was 15, and his shin was 15, and I spread them all apart, well now I'm only fighting 15 pounds, right? It's really easy to lift. It's really light. Go back to where it was underneath you. No, you're defending wrong. It's hard to lift. He's heavy. Go back where your hands are not on the floor. Sit on your heels. Am I ever going to lift this up? Maybe if I'm swole like me, but like not everyone has this incredibly chiseled figure. So the point is, guys, and if you could indulge me a tangent. Here, Ben, you can sit right next to me. Face the group with me. The elbow escape is the most poorly named technique in all of jiu-jitsu. Boom, I said it. It's not an elbow escape, okay? Why? Because everybody learns the elbow escape basically the same way. He gets the mount. I get his hands posted, blah, 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 right? And then we all learn this, and tell me if you've seen this one. Right? And that's great. That's a great technique, and we're actually going to go into that in more length next week. Here's the problem. Pinch your knees together. If I could just, no, if you could just give me one moment, please. If I could. Coach, I can't elbow escape. Doesn't work. Elbow escape doesn't work. Okay. Furthermore, okay, I get the elbow in there. And again, we'll talk about this in more length next week. Let's rotate a little bit this way. Tell me if you've seen this one. Coach, I can't get his foot stuck. Help. Help me. Help. Right? Now again, we're going to talk about this next week and go into detail what you want to actually make happen to make this work. But the point is, like, let's ask the question, do I need to actually get my elbow on the inside to make this technique work? Is the real question we need to ask, because if that is the case, then the elbow escape is an appropriate name. But really, guys, is the power, like, if you like to just sort of here, is it that when I get my elbow in, I have this technique for sure? Like, have you ever been in the mount, you get your elbow in here, and like, you're still, right? So clearly, the fact that my elbow gets in this pocket is not the determining factor of what makes this work. This is not practical, but just to demonstrate the principle. What makes this technique work is if this leg gets extended, this leg is really light. And I can grab it. That's what makes this technique work. It's not the elbow going inside, it's his leg getting extended, right? So, instead of bothering to turn them out, just to start with, instead of getting all hung up on, let me get my elbow in here and turn my hips and trap the foot and all this different stuff, which is all well and good, but requires some nuances that maybe you might not have at your disposal in every situation. Here's what we're going to do. We go back to the beginning, your posture, so big bridge, big tip, and send him forward. Okay, from here, all I'm going to aim to do, guys, is I'm going to get a grab of his pant grip here. I would say even in self-defense context, most people are wearing like firm pants. You can't really rely on a jacket in self-defense because like jackets are going to be loose and rip easily, but pants are usually pretty sturdily made, people wearing jeans and so on. I'm grabbing the pants at the calf. If you guys notice, what I have here is a nice big loop that Ben could punch his arm through. So if you take your right arm and go through that hole between my elbow. Exactly. That's bad. I don't want this. Go back. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a little teapot and lean away. You know, let me adjust. Like I'm a little teapot. You know, hold me on that one. Fancy. Lead those out. So we go back to the beginning. I bridge, make a post, lean away, and grab the pants. Now, instead of here, don't let me move you. If I could just use all this muscle, I crunch. And then I get this leg. So we go back. From here, bridge, lean, punch. So you guys see, I'm stiff arming away from the line, and then I bring my shoulders on the line. At this point, I gobble this leg between my legs, and I actually will even grab my own hand. Right? The reason why? Because if I go here and I release, he might try working with this underhook, and then I'm dealing with it. So, if we go back, your posture, big bridge, big tip, boom, lean, punch, grab an underhook, please. Grab anything, right? Like not really there. Then, guys, from here, I'm going to turn my hips to the right while I plant my left foot and pivot. Here's my underhook. Or 2 hands on the elbow, get off the settle. So let's do this where our heads are facing Hamza here. And then I'll show you it. Come on. These postures. Do a big bridge, big knee, big pull. From here, I'll do the other side so you guys can see. I lean away and grab the pant leg at the calf. So now I have a stiffened arm. So like, let's say, Ben, you tried to bring your knee up to my armpit or something. It's fighting bone structure, right? Same thing that we did in the defensive path in the beginning, where I'm here. From here, I don't try to push with my muscles, which are, in my case, very strong, but most people not very strong in this position, okay? I use my obliques and my body. From here, I gobble that leg up. Inside leg hooks, outside foot plant, and I'm going to drift to catch this. From here, you can either work for your underhook, or if you just want a very simple path to something that's solid defensive, both hands windshield wiper in, both hands frame on the elbow, and elongate away from it. So if you're trying to grab the head, if you're trying to smash me down, I'm really sturdy from here. It's a really solid defensive position. Should I see that? Yeah? So we're in the mount, right? Do a big bridge, big tip, hands post. From here, still got, this side is still, you know, this guy right here. I lean away and I grab the pant leg at the calf. So I should have a stiff arm and like resistance on the pant. So I don't grab so up high because when I start tilting, I don't have the resistance. I want to grab low. Then I'm a little teapot, drop the leg up, hook with the inside leg, plant with the outside foot, pivot, catch my underhook. And either work to my underhook stuff or double up on the bicep and just get some like frames. It's kind of like the double up on the bicep is like, let's say you don't have a half guard game that you can rely on, like you don't have a good half guard game. That's a good, just good defensive position. If you know what to do with your underhooks, use your underhooks. But I would say doubling up on the elbow and getting off the center line is a better defensive position if you don't have a half guard game than an underhook. Because with an underhook, you kind of have to like know half guard stuff. Whereas that, you're just like, it's Morbin time. Morbin Mastodon. Pterodactyl. Does that make sense, guys? Does anybody, so visible opponent, big bridge, big push, right? Lean, gobble, plant, pivot, and then either you work your underhook or elongate. Remember, you're not pushing their bicep away, you're taking your shoulders away from it in stiff arming. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? Excellent. Start over. 1, 2, 3.